The day I bought the property was supposed to mark the beginning of something beautiful, building blocks for a lifetime of memories, protected by trust. At least, that's what I thought. It was an incredible house, tucked away in one of the best parts of the city. Grand arched entrances, smooth marble floors, expansive windows that bathed in the golden light of every sunrise. I stood at the entrance, my fingers tracing the nameplate, Nathan and Lillian Collins. Lillian was ecstatic about our success. She spun around in the empty rooms, imagining color palettes, furniture arrangements, the dinner parties she would host. "This is our castle, Nathan, the place where we'll spend our golden years together," she said. Her enthusiasm was contagious. I remember standing on the terrace, gazing at the city's skyline, feeling like the luckiest man alive. I kissed her forehead, believing our life was picture perfect. We had the kind of love people admired, the kind they aspired to. We met at a charity banquet 5 years ago. I was captivated by her confidence, her laughter, the way she changed my life after that one serendipitous encounter. Our wedding was as ambitious and stylish as she was. A destination ceremony in Santorini, white roses, flickering candlelight, and an orchestra playing as we danced under the stars. We had vowed to build a future together, one built on security, partnership, and love that could withstand anything. I worked tirelessly to make sure my real estate business thrived. It grew beyond what I could have imagined: luxury homes, high-end clients, the kind of wealth that ensured Lillian never had to worry about anything. If she dreamed of a weekend getaway, we were on the next flight out. If she wanted a designer bag, it was hers. I wanted her to have the best. Looking back now, I wonder if I was truly building a life with her, or if I was just financing her dreams. At first, the changes were subtle. She got distracted during conversations. She became fixated on expensive jewelry and high-end brands. She never explained. I overlooked it because, after all, what was money if she was happy? We had everything: a house that felt like a haven, exotic vacations, a marriage that seemed perfect on the outside. People admired us. Friends were in awe when I pulled up in my newest sports car, Lillian effortlessly glamorous in the passenger seat. The irony of life is that just when you think you're standing on solid ground, everything can crumble. Lillian's smiles no longer reached her eyes. The nights she spent on her phone, the events she attended with people I had never met, it all started adding up. But love blinds you. It convinces you that your suspicions are insecurities, that your doubts are paranoia. So, I silenced the whispers in my head. She loved me just as much as I loved her, or so I thought. If I had known what was coming, I would have never seen that house as a castle. I would have seen it for what it truly was: just another piece of real estate, an asset that could be bought, sold, or stolen. Because that's exactly what happened in the end. I had spent years building our dream life, and I was the only one dreaming. The warning signs were there, subtle at first, small clues that only made sense when you stepped back and saw the full picture. The problem was, I didn't want to see it. Not until that night. I remember it so clearly. It was a Tuesday, and I came home earlier than usual. My meetings had wrapped up ahead of schedule, so I decided to surprise Lillian. I picked up her favorite sushi from that high-end restaurant downtown, the one that required a reservation, even for takeout. I wanted to see her smile, to see her eyes light up the way they used to. But when I walked inside, she wasn't there. The house was empty. I checked the kitchen, the living room, the bedroom. Then I saw it. Her jewelry box was open, her phone lying there with no missed calls or texts. And when she finally came home hours later, her face flushed, her hair slightly tousled, and her dress wrinkled from the wind, I knew in that brief moment she had frozen. She hadn't expected me to be there. "Oh," she said, letting her purse drop onto the couch. "You're home early." I forced a smile and held up the takeout bag. "Thought I'd surprise you." She hesitated for a moment. "Oh, I already ate." And that was when it hit me. I watched her walk past me into the kitchen. My wife, the woman I had built my world around, and I realized I didn't know her anymore. That was just the beginning. 6 months ago, she had joined an exclusive women's club. At first, I encouraged it, but soon those casual gatherings turned into late nights, weekend getaways, and expensive dinners at 5-star hotels. Then there was Marcus. I met him at a charity gala, tall, polished, the kind of man who never had to struggle for anything, the kind of man who walked through life like he owned it. Lillian introduced him with a radiant smile. She laughed at his jokes, lingered on his arm a little too long. I should have seen it then. I should have pulled her aside and asked, "What the hell is going on?" But I didn't. I let her kiss my cheek and told myself I was being paranoid, that she wouldn't betray me. And yet she did. That weekend, I was set to close the biggest real estate deal of my career, a deal that would make me untouchable. But none of that mattered when I pulled up to my house and saw the security guard standing at the gate. My gate. My house. I stepped forward, ready to punch in my access code, but the guard, a broad-shouldered man in his late 40s, moved in front of me. "I'm sorry, sir," he said, his voice firm. "You're not authorized to enter." I blinked, laughed. "You must be mistaken. I own this house." The guard didn't flinch. "I have strict instructions from the homeowner. You are not permitted inside." My stomach turned to ice. And then I saw them, through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Lillian sitting on my couch, holding a glass of champagne, Marcus next to her, his arm draped over the back of the sofa. A smirk played on his lips, and then she looked at me and smiled, not with guilt, not with regret, just satisfaction. She lifted her glass. Marcus clinked his against hers. And in that moment, I realized what had happened. They had taken everything. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't broken. No, I was just getting started. I smiled, but I didn't do anything careless. No, I needed to see this through. That night, I put on a dark sweatshirt and rode in a taxi back to my old neighborhood. The security guard from the previous evening had likely left, thinking I wouldn't return. I stayed in the shadows, making my way to the edge of my property, where I could see Marcus. The curtains were open, and Lillian sat on the couch, arms crossed, while Marcus spoke on the phone. His features strained with irritation, his voice rising as he gestured frantically. I could tell something was amiss, and they both understood it without a word. Even through the glass, Marcus was snapping at her, his mouth clenched. She was beginning to realize she wasn't as in control as she thought. I grinned as I watched her unravel. She had believed she was on par with Marcus, that she was in charge. But she was simply another pawn. I took out my phone and messaged Jake, the private investigator, asking him to grab the tapes. Jake was already ahead of schedule. My heart raced with excitement because Marcus and Lillian had no idea how much they would regret what they'd done. It was too late. I departed before anyone could see me and returned to the hotel. As soon as I arrived, my phone buzzed with a message from Victor. "We received it. Authorities have frozen their homes after a court injunction was obtained." I exhaled slowly, feeling my first genuine sense of fulfillment. Let them learn the hard way. The next morning, at precisely 9 a.m., Marcus and Lillian woke up to a financial nightmare. Their bank accounts and credit cards were frozen. Offshore transfers were blocked. And most importantly, the home was no longer theirs. When they realized what they had taken from me was legally mine again, they understood. They hadn't won. They had walked straight into a trap. They had no idea how deep it went. I didn't have to wait long. At 11 a.m., there was a frantic knock at my hotel door. I took my time, smoothed out my cuffs, straightened my suit, exhaled slowly, and walked to the door. Lillian and Marcus stood there, pale and trembling. Lillian's lips quivered. "Please, Nathan, we need to discuss this," she whispered. Marcus looked like he might be sick. They froze as I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. "Since there's an arrest warrant out for you, and you could lose everything." I tilted my head. "Oh, you mean my home, my finances, my life, which you tried to take." They stumbled, begging. I watched them for a moment, taking in their despair. Then I grinned. "Come in," I said, putting on a mock expression of sympathy. They still believed they had a chance. They still thought I was going to help them. They had no idea how deep they had fallen into my trap.